right, traders, it is time to prepare to trade the best setups at the best prices. In terms of yesterday's video, we were expecting the SPY to drop first. The drop did end up happening during the pre-market. It did not go to as low as we wanted to. And then like I told you guys, it's going to have a bullish recovery. So it ended up having the drop in the pre-market, and then the bullish recovery began at market open. With that being said, I'm going to be recapping today's price action analysis, teaching you the strategies and the trades that were made today. I'm also going to be preparing you for our new updated key analysis and key levels where we're planning to go long and short. So let's get straight into it. So in terms of the SPY, we did start off with a small gap down. It bottomed at 448. In terms of our overall best zone for calls, we wanted to get in towards the more oversold level, which was right here. There was a gap to fill on the SPY towards 446, also very strong support at 445. Now, one thing that I made very, very clear within my chat as well, this was a level that I don't even believe that I disclosed in yesterday's video, but I made it very, very clear within the chat room that a key level to buy the dip on the SPY can also be at this higher level, which was right here at 447.45. The reason why I said that was a previous high right here at 447.45, and it reacted as strong support, which is bullish. That previous resistance right here reacted as strong support, which is bullish. And SPY has been bottoming and bouncing on the low of these 30-minute wicks. So whenever you see one of these 30-minute wicks at a key level that has not been tested, it's likely going to start to try to bounce at the low of this candle. So that was another key information. But in terms of the video that I posted yesterday, I made it very, very clear at some point we're going to have a bullish recovery, overall bullish. Now, in terms of another thing I said, 449.28, that's the previous closing price. So if that reacts as a support level, then it's going to continue to go up in bullish into the 453 range. That's basically what was stated. Now, in terms of confirmations, guys, we have a green bullish 30-minute candle closing, and we discuss this all the time if you've been watching my videos. SPY loves to retest the high of these 30-minute wicks. Whenever it forms like a 30-minute high wick, it loves to go back up and retest the high of the wick. This is another good example right here. It closes right here at like 449.84. The high is 450.09, meaning those 450 calls that went out of the money are going to likely pump back in the money as it's going to try to spike above the wick. And surely enough, it consistently did that for the entire day. It just kept re-spiking to the highs of these wicks. So those were all great opportunities for some call options, right? Now, with that being said, let's kind of go over the key analysis and the key levels heading into, tomorrow. So in terms of how we're looking on the daily for the short term as of now, this can either go either way. Now, one thing to keep in mind is we are kind of, curling up towards a lot of resistance. So the main thing I kind of want you to understand is this. We need to go back to the daily chart and get a better understanding of where our levels are. So this is what I want you to focus on. We have a lot of resistance at 450.70 to 450. There's a lot of resistance in that zone. Now, if the SPY continues to break above and hold this 450 to 451, then it's going to go bullish to the next level. And that next level is going to be 457, which is a major bracket, 457. We're talking about if 451 becomes a floor, becomes support, then we're looking at a pretty wide bracket on the daily chart. You can just see there's not a lot of resistance. Now, there is some resistance right here at 453. So if it does go to 453, we are likely going to see a drop initially for a scalp, even if it were against a trend. So here's my views. If we hold 450, and then if this ever decides to break above 451, it turns the previous closing price into support, 450.84, it reacts bullish, 30 minutes green, right? Getting strong confirmation. The next level we go to is 453. When we go to 453, those 453 puts that went out of the money are likely going to drop back to in the money for a quick bank against the trend. Now, if 453 breaks above and reacts to support, then that's a very wide bracket and we're going to 457. That's the next stop. So that's your bullish scenario, and that's what the bulls would need to do. They basically need to maintain above 450 and they need to break above 451 form support. If that can occur, 453. If they break above 453 form support, then big bracket, big breakout to 457, right down this valued price ladder for the future prices, right? Now, let's discuss bears. So in terms of bears, one thing that is very, very bad for them is SPY is consistently turning previous highs into support. This was a previous high right here at 447 that reacted as support, right? And it's consistently doing that. So in terms of our overall previous highs, you can say towards like 450 key major resistance and also 451. That is key, man. If the bulls continue to hold this above 450 to 451, then it's very bullish. Now, in order for this to flip bearish, they would need to maintain under 451, crack below 450, and then crack below 448.50. And if they crack below 448.50, then overall it's going to try to fill the gap at 446. But this is an extremely tough market to be a bear in, right? Because overall we are super bullish within the stock market. The overall trend has been overall bullish basically since March. So the best things you could really focus on if you're trying to trade with the overall trend would just be dip buying opportunities. It's just one thing that has been a little bit tough, but I have been adjusting to it accordingly. It's just taken some time. Was for me to want to buy call options this high, even though we are in a very bullish market. I've had a lot of oversold levels, but the drops haven't been that big, so they would never hit the oversold levels. So it was just more of me trading within Trader Society, not using my key levels, and then creating new key levels where I would buy into higher entries. I am becoming more comfortable with doing that with the right confirmation since we are in a very bullish market. But in terms of with these videos, it's very hard to speak on that. Now, what I can say is, if we're, discussing levels that aren't the most oversold, but we would be bullish at, one tip I would give you is just to look at the 30-minute wicks, is to focus on overreactions to the downside when SPY has a big sharp move down for like an hour or an hour and a half, right? Because it hasn't been dropping for too long. If it drops, it lasts for about an hour and a half max typically with this overall trend. So I would focus on big sell-offs, and I would simply be interested in buying at the low of these 30-minute wicks. That's one tip that I would give you within continuation of this overall bullish market. Focus on 30-minute wicks that have not been tested towards the lows. So you can see you have a lot of support right here at 449.70, but your key best support where the bears got absolutely trapped, this would be a more oversold level, 448.70. So in terms of just speaking on this video, I would love buying calls right here at 448.70. We can keep an eye on 449.60, but that's a higher level, man. I would need very strong confirmation. But my true key levels for calls, if we were to speak on oversold terms, I would be looking at these levels. These are the ones that I would be focusing on. I would be looking at 448.50, the low of this 30-minute wick. I would be keeping an eye on 447.50, the low of this 30-minute wick. And I would be keeping an eye on this gap at 446. Now, in order for it to get there, it's going to need a short-term, nice little pullback. The bears are going to have to take some control. If it's not going to get there, then that means they're going to hold 450, break above 451, 453. We see a drop, and then it can go to 457 if 453 ever becomes support, right? But in terms of my oversold levels, those are the ones that I like. 448.60, 447.50, and 446. Now, in terms of Trader Society, I will be trading at different levels. So one thing that I am going to work on adjusting, and I have been working on adjusting this, is to buy calls at slightly higher levels once the trend is more developed. Because the reality situation is, man, we haven't been seeing massive pullbacks. And even if we have, they haven't been lasting that long. They last like an hour and a half, 2 hours max. They don't last too long. And if that were to happen where it lasted an hour and a half, 2 hours, then that's when the oversold level is going to hit. That's when the overreaction is going to trigger, right? But it's just a little scary to buy calls this high, but it's just also understanding how bullish we are for the long term. So my overall ladder is 457, 453, 451, 448.70, 447.70 and 446. So that's the price ladder. If one of those levels reacts as a support, it spikes up to the next level. If one of those levels reacts as a resistance, it drops down to the next level. So that's my overall analysis on the SPY. It'll be our job as traders tomorrow to determine if it is forming support or resistance at our key levels. We're going to wait for trends to develop. We're going to wait for 30-minute candles to form, to close, and we're going to wait for a specific set of patterns in trend to develop, right? So it's just understanding, calls have been doing very well on small little dips, even though they're not at great prices on the daily chart, but the market has been very bullish. So it's like trying to adjust to that where you're buying at higher prices instead of waiting for the oversold levels, so you don't miss out waiting for the oversold levels. But if you want, you could just wait for the oversold levels as well, size in less on the other ones. But one thing I would encourage you is just to wait for the trend to overall develop. Don't rush into things. Look for overreactions. Look for simple patterns to make money within this market. So that's how I'm taking it, and do not get caught in any bull or bear traps. Every single level that I use very, very tight stop losses. If SPY goes 30 cents against me, I will typically stop out. So if I buy calls and the SPY price goes 30 cents against me from where I entered, then I get stopped out. And then vice versa for puts, right? I use very, very tight stops. I get in and I get out like a sniper very, very quickly, scalping, trading for quick profits. And it adds up. The base hits add up over time. Now, in terms of this overall market, this is something that you haven't been aware about if you're not in Trader Society. But I have been investing heavily, and this is the first time, for those of you in Trader Society, you are well aware. You rarely hear me talking about investing. I have a different and a unique style approach of investing. I can make some videos about it, but it's very rare where you're going to see me buying stocks and holding for the long term. It's also very rare where you're going to see me swing trading. I would say the highest form of gambling within the stock market would be swing trading, not day trading. I love investing. It's just I have a unique strategy to investing where I sit on cash for a long period of time, and then I use a lot of that cash to day trade and then make other investments in businesses and into myself and into my team and other people, stuff like that. But usually once a year, there's a couple stocks that I'll invest to. And then, if we're in a very bearish market, I might wait a little bit longer, more than a year, right? But I did decide to invest, and I learned these all within Trader Society in real time. RIVN, I'm up over 70% on RIVN. This is one stock I invested in for the long term. If you could ever find your way to get in this one towards like $17, maybe you could take some starters at 21. This is going to be a great one long term. I picked up a lot of RIVN. NEGG, this one I picked up in the 120s. I'm up over 40, at like 115 or something like that. I'm up over 45% on this one. So again, these are just some investments I made. I do not recommend them for anyone watching this video. I want you guys buying at the oversold levels. But what I'm telling you is I've recently made a lot of investments, and they've all gone up 30% to 50% within the past 2 months. And we're in a very extremely bullish market. And overall, as time goes by, they will all go on. Snapchat's another one. I had this one at $10. I'm up over 35%. I have a lot. Now, the point I'm bringing this up is we're in a very bullish market. And if you are looking for something to hold for the long term that you did not miss out on, because I learned these all real time within Trader Society and they've been skyrocketing. I do have some that you can look into and do your own research and due diligence on. My favorite one is PayPal. So this is one where I would personally recommend to my audience because it hasn't gone up too much. The bottom's at 60, it's at 73. So it hasn't gone up too much compared to other stocks. So if you want to do your research and due diligence on this one, and again, this is a long-term investment. You buy it and you hold it for a very long period of time, right? But the point is, if you just compare PayPal to Shopify's long-term chart, to META, to Facebook's long-term chart, they're all nearly identical. In PayPal, in terms of that overall chart pattern, is the only one out of very many that haven't recovered. Most have recovered. PayPal is the one that hasn't really fully recovered yet. But Shopify had a crazy recovery. META had one of the best recoveries. Tesla had a similar chart as well, crazy recovery. If you were to just compare technicals, you would see that PayPal is extremely undervalued and it's a great long-term buy, in my opinion, right? So these are long-term holds. Now, this one is more of a gamble, but this one looks like Upstart to me. If you compare, and you can look at multiple time frames, but if you were just to compare Zoom to Upstart, Upstart looks very, very similar. It basically looks like Zoom is oversold right now, and it's going to start to do what Upstart just did. Upstart just went from 11 to 53, and if you were to compare Upstart's chart to Zoom's chart, you would see there's a lot of similarities in this sense. So I think Zoom is very undervalued. I think this one is a good buy. Now, in terms of the company and what they're doing and stuff like that, I personally don't like it. This would be a pure technical play. So I have some money in this one, but I'm looking at that as more of like a YOLO and a gamble, same way I'm looking at NEGG stock that I'm in. But PayPal is the one where I would be most confident in. But just speaking off the ones that haven't gone up too much, PayPal, Zoom, NEGG. So basically these stocks have some nice upside potential and they haven't recovered too much from the lows. So that's kind of the sense that I'm looking at. And I'm comparing them to a lot of other stocks and they all have similarities, man. So like I said, man, I've already invested into a lot of stocks and they've gone up 30 to 50% within the past 2 months. And these are stocks that for the long term at the current prices, I do believe are going to be nice long-term investments. I don't recommend people to buy stocks that I'm already in and they're up a large amount unless they drop back down and I'm going to be into it. Then I would recommend it, right? I already recommended a bunch to Trader Society. All I'm saying is if you're just looking for something to invest in for the long term, something that hasn't gone up, I would look into PayPal. That's the main one. If you want to take, more of a high risk, you can look into Zoom. You could diversify, but I would have the most in PayPal in that situation. I currently have 6 figures invested into PayPal at 67. But another one, now this one could be too early. Kirk stock. This stock is likely going to be $6 long term. Right now it's priced at 270s. So another way in terms of my style investing is if I'm buying and holding for the long term, I only average down on large drops. So if I were going to do, 10,000 shares of Kirk stock, put in like 5,000 here, and then if it drops, 30 to 50%, then add 5,000 more shares or maybe even more, right? That's how I look at investing. I only average down into big drops, right? So those are some tips. Those are some tricks. I can make more videos on investing. I just wanted to share that with you guys because, for those of you who have cash laying around, you're looking for something to hold for the long term, those would be some stocks that you can look into and research on the news and stuff like that. Now, in terms of another YOLO that I'm going to be taking, Tesla, man, a lot of people in the chat are going to be swing trading call options on Tesla, and they're going to be doing it through earnings. So earnings is this Wednesday. Now, just understand for this one, this is a complete lotto, a complete gamble. Basically, whatever I'm putting into, I'm comfortable with losing, and I'm anticipating that money's already gone. So I'm likely going to be doing some high risk, short-term call options, Tesla expirations through earnings. I'm very bullish. I think it's going to pull an META where we go to that, this week, where we go to that like 315 range. META, 316, it bottomed at 88. Very similar chart to Tesla as well. I think Tesla's going to pull the same thing and have a bullish earnings. Now, just so you know, that's like super high risk gamble, literally can lose everything I put in. So, that's something I'm comfortable with doing, right? But with that being said, those are some thoughts and those are some things that I want to share with you. And like I said, man, I would go back and just see, man. Like, let me show you what I'm seeing with this whole PayPal thing. If I could find it here real quick. Yeah, this was the post that I made. This right here, man, just look at this chart. This is a monthly chart. So this is a monthly chart on PayPal. I just want you to visually look at it. So just visually look at how this pattern looks, right? Just visually take it in and then compare this to these two charts and you'll see it's almost identical. The only difference is PayPal is the one that hasn't gone up much yet. But this is Shopify. Shopify went up from, I believe, like 28 or 24, something like that, mid 20s, all the way to 70, and that's still recovering bullish, right? And then this is META. META went from 88 all the way to 315. Now, if you just look at how they visually look, if you compared them all, right, you would say these look identical, man. So PayPal should be fine long-term. It's a great company. That'll do fine. Now, Zoom, I'm telling you, if you just looked at Zoom, let me see, man, it looks so much different on my phone right here. And again, this one is more of the gamble. I personally, don't like the company in terms of like, the price. I mean, it's a great company. Just in terms of the price, I'm not too much of liking of it. But I did very, very well in Zoom in 2020. This was an investment that I made. I did well in this one. Sold it so fucking soon. But I think Zoom is just getting to the point where it has to go up. So look at Zoom. This is Zoom, right? Take in this chart. And then we're going to compare this to Upstart, UPST. You see that? You see how they look very, very similar? The way they ran up, the way they ended, the way they bottomed. There's so much similarities, man. And people will say I'm crazy for doing this, but I'm telling you, I have an eye for when something's very, very cheap and lucrative. So I'm pointing you into stocks that have big upside potential. All of these stocks have big upside potential. Just look at their all-time highs, massive upside potential. And if you're looking for oversold stocks within this market, it's very, very tough to find. If you're looking for good companies or companies that have been around or companies that have had massive all-time highs, it's very hard to find. And the reason why I say that is because most of them have recovered. Shopify has already recovered nicely. META has recovered nicely. Tesla's recovered nicely, right? Not all these companies are created equally, but the point is, man, I'm seeing very similar patterns, and we're in a very bullish market. And long term, the market's only going to go higher. We're probably going to be in the 500s by next year. Like, this is good opportunities. It's just hard to find an oversold opportunity in the current state of the market because everything has gone up so much. These were all stocks. Let me see if I could find it right here. NEGG, RIVN. I had this list of all stocks, man. I invested into all of these and they all went up so much. And I'm telling you, like, from that list, there's not a lot left. But this was the list I had. These were the companies that I liked. So NVAX, that one went up 40% from when I spoke about it. Snapchat up 35% from when I alerted that one. Rivian's up 70% from when I alerted that one. Lucid's only up 10% when I alerted that one. Disney's not really up. It's stagnant. Now that one I don't like. I would not invest into Disney. Fuck Disney. VERU, this one's basically flat. It hasn't done much. It's showing signs of a bottom. That one's super high fucking risk. NEGG, that's super high risk of gamble, but I like this one. I like NEGG a lot in terms from a gambling perspective. It has so much huge upside potential, and I don't see the company going anywhere. And you know how these stocks get when they hit like $1 for the first time. They tend to spike, right? Target, this one's okay. Nothing too crazy. JetBlue's okay. Nothing too crazy. CCL, nothing too crazy. Within the long term, that can double like Royal Caribbean did. That's Carnival Cruise Line. But basically, I gave out this list. I invested into all these companies. And I'm telling you, man, the results speak for themselves. Like if I just pull up, let me log in on my phone here real quick. Let me load this up. So give me 1 second here. Okay, so let me just show this here for you real quick. So these are all like the long-term stocks I made. This is NEGG. This one's up 45% on NEGG. And then let me show you as well. So that was NEGG. Right now on PayPal, I have some long-term call options on this one as well. But right now on PayPal, this one's up 9%. I picked up this one at $67. And then let me show you these as well. So this is Snapchat. Snapchat is currently up 27% from my entry. At the peak, I was up a little bit over 30% on that. And then this was another one that I picked up. Give me 1 second here. So Upstart is doing phenomenal, man. 55% on Upstart. I think Zoom is going to pull the next Upstart, man. It just makes sense. And then let me show you what else we got working with. So RIVN. So RIVN at the peak, I was up 75%. Right now I'm up 63% on those. But those were the main ones, where I invested. And I put in a lot into these. And the latest one where I made a huge investment was in PayPal. I did just put some money into Kirk stock as well. And I also put some decent money into Zoom stock. But my biggest play right now in terms of the ones that haven't taken off is definitely in PayPal because I feel it's the safest. But this Zoom could be a good play. I personally don't like how high it's priced. But in terms of the pattern looks great. I hate that the price is this high, but in terms of the pattern looks great. But look, man, one tip and trick I do is I look for companies that aren't going anywhere. When they become very oversold, when the market's becoming bullish, when people are putting money into the market, that's when I'll start looking to dip on them. When there's confirmations of a reversal using the weekly and monthly chart, these have all been beginning to reverse. And I look for gaps, man. These gaps tend to fill. There was a gap to fill at $97 on Zoom. There's so many gaps on Zoom. There's a gap to fill on Zoom at $350. And long term, this is why I love long-term investing. If you pick the right companies, eventually they go back up and they fill the gaps. It's a real strategy. So I use a lot of technicals in terms of how I make my investments, and it works very, very well, especially if you're in a bullish market. So the way I'm looking at this is, man, people are seeing how bullish the market is, but the problem is a lot of these stocks have went up so much. So they're going to start looking for oversold companies like Zoom, like PayPal, they're going to start looking for oversold companies. If they want to gamble, NEGG, they're going to start looking for oversold companies that they know might not be the best, but they think it's a good deal, and they're going to put money into it because, rich people, wealthy people, they're trying to find a good deal. And if we're in a super bullish market where everyone's bullish and they want to go long, they're going to start putting more money into other stocks. They want to buy oversold stocks that haven't gone up a lot yet, that have a future of hitting new all-time highs, that have a future of going back up to recover to fill the gaps. Like META, it went up to recover to fill the gaps. It had a gap at 320. If you do this with the right companies, it works extremely well, where you're basically investing for that gap to fill, and then you sell into the gaps, right? I can definitely see long-term PayPal recovering to fill the gaps. PayPal has plenty of gaps. There's one right here at 180. I can definitely see this long-term going back up and doing something like that. Zoom, I don't have too high hopes for, but at the current price and at the current chart, in the way that Upstart just fucking moved, like, this is going up. This, like, long-term, this is great. And if you just compare how this right here looks to this right here looks, like, it's just a matter of time before the bottom comes in, man. So I absolutely love it. And that is just some tips and tricks to my style of investing. I know some people are going to say, like, you're crazy for comparing these companies to these companies. Look, I trade charts, I invest into charts, and it works. And these are very, very rare opportunities. You can go ahead, let me know what stocks have proven history, have proven patterns like this, where you can compare it to other companies with very similar patterns. They're just not out there. Most of them have went up substantially, like Shopify, like META, like Tesla. They've all went up substantially. And it's just a matter of time before, a lot of wealthy people look at these companies and they're going to say, man, we want to put our money into something's oversold. There's not a lot left. Let's put some money here. Let's throw some money into here. And that's definitely going to be happening, in my opinion, right? So you can see, man, there's some NVX. There's a lot of similarity as well. Now, that's my style. And like I said, I would simply buy and hold these for a long period of time. And if they drop massively, I would add in. So I would have some sort of backup plan. If I'm putting in $1,000, put in $500 here, add $500 later. If you know you're not going to have $500 to add later, then do that. If you know you're going to have $500 to add later, then put $1,000 in now. That's how I would look at it, man. But the ones I'm looking at are and focused on is that PayPal in that Zoom. Those are the ones that I like the most right now. Now, in terms of that, like, full lotto play, NEGG, but the problem I have with this one for you is it already went up so much. Like, I'm already up 50%. I don't want to tell you to buy something if I'm up 50%. So if it were to drop, then maybe consider it. But PayPal and Zoom, I would feel very comfortable if you were looking for something long term. I feel very comfortable with you guys being in that, especially PayPal. Zoom is more of the risky one. So I'm going to leave it off at that. If you do want to be a part of Traders Society, it's going to be the first link down below in the description. It's a one-time fee and it's lifetime access. If you'd like to join, you can get started. It's instant access and you can join right now. It is the first link down below in the description. You get access to all of my day trading picks, right? You get access to all my real-time trade alerts. You get access to the video lesson library where you're going to learn how to trade, learn how to fish, not just try to follow alerts. You actually learn how to do this, become self-sufficient. Access to the live trading streams, live trading voice channels, the Discord server, the networking opportunities within the Discord server, the moderators, it's all within there, man. If you want to learn how to consistently make money, day trading options, it's going to be that first link down below in the description. I will see you guys tomorrow, live towards market open.